It's like the seventh circle of hell.
If you think back to the good old days of 2008 to 2012, you might think of American President Barack Obama.
Say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House.
But the reality is that there was one man more famous than even the first African-American president.
I don't see how anything can stop me from finishing this awesome sandwich.
And that man was Adam Richman, the host of Man vs. Food, a highly popular television show from the Travel Channel. The show followed Richman as he went from state to state, attempting to finish gigantic meals. And while the show disappeared in 2012, the legend of Richman still lives on. There's a lot to that show that people didn't and still don't realize, and so we thought we'd delve into the top 10 things you didn't know about Man vs. Food and Adam Richman himself. That was Adam in shape. Or at least the best possible shape he could have been in, considering his job forced him to eat enough calories to keep the sun burning for another billion years.
Dad?
If you see Adam Richman now, you might not recognize him, as he's dropped a ton of weight. During the Man vs. Food years, Richman forced himself to work out twice a day, just to maintain the pudgy physicality that everyone fell in love with. Despite his efforts, he still ended up gaining a copious amount of weight while on the show, something that ended up putting him in a state of depression.
Also, as a single, unmarried man, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think women like guys who can see their feet, so I'm gonna keep going with that.
His depression worsened due to being single at the time, which he blamed on his weight, which made him more depressed, and this sort of made a vicious cycle. In an interview with People magazine after he dropped an astonishing 60 pounds, Richman described how once he reached a point where he had sleep apnea from his weight gain, he decided enough was enough and retired from competitive eating and the show itself. That change came suddenly one day when Richman saw his reflection in a mirror and thought that he was the size of a smart car. So he cut out flour and dairy from his diet and decided to throw out his favorite snacks like peanut butter and ice cream.
This is what I look like on Saturday night.
Presumably a bathtub full of both. The man best known for eating massive meals actually switched to eating tiny meals, and lots of them, to reboot the metabolism that was destroyed by the show. That means that he was eating 150-calorie meals every 2 hours, which for a man who'd fast the day before a challenge was clearly a gigantic change. But it worked, as Richman eventually bared it all for a centerfold shoot with Cosmo. Liking this video so far? Show us some love and hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Adam Richman health issues.
I wash myself with a rag on a stick.
As you'll learn later, the host of Man vs. Food, Adam Richman, wasn't a competitive eater before he started the first competitive eating show that had one host traveling the United States and attempting to best the legendary meals that different restaurants and diners had to offer. Because of his inexperience with competitive eating and his high-level intelligence, as is evident by the fact that he went to Yale, Richman consulted with doctors before he started the show, a move that foreshadowed his early retirement as well.
I mean, you were eating
Yes.
ungodly amounts of food,
sir.
man.
In a live chat with ESPN, Richman explained this move, saying, "I went to specialists ahead of time because I wanted to start with a baseline of good health versus correcting bad health down the road." Despite all that work and the work he did, according to the previous entry on this list, Richman still ended up gaining an inordinate amount of weight, developing health problems like sleep apnea and depression, and eventually had to give up the show that made him famous after only 4 seasons.
Don't look at me! Don't look at me! You watch.
Richman's ridiculous preparation during the season.
So how's that improve your sex game?
I could see my junk. No,
When watching Man vs. Food, you'd think that the only prep that went into each episode of food gorging was Richman skipping breakfast and loosening his belt. It turns out there was a lot more that went into it, something that seems like it would balance out the amount of calories Richman consumed, but instead perhaps ended up being one of the main contributors to Richman's weight gain. When discussing how he prepared for each show, Richman said, "If I do have a day off, I don't eat, or eat very minimally, and I drink a lot of water and club soda to keep my stomach stretched and full, and to keep myself hydrated." That means that during the filming season, Richman's entire life was dictated by the show and his upcoming episode. As was mentioned earlier, Richman worked out like crazy while filming.
Excuse me, you're doing the station art backwards. Let me show you how to do it like a man.
Not only to attempt to work off all the tens of thousands of calories he was consuming at each sitting, but also because by working out, he'd increase his appetite. Richman concluded, "The most important aspect is that I work out like a beast. I work out like a beast the night before and the morning of." So those workouts served a dual purpose and again shows how much the show dominated his life.
In the battle of man versus food, today, chalk another one up for man.
Richman's favorite meals.
So Ed's gonna show me a southern tradition called pig picking.
Vegetarians, you might want to change the channel right about now.
There's no better way to really get information from celebrities these days than Reddit AMAs, which stands for Ask Me Anything. Richman participated in an AMA in 2015 and was asked which contest was his favorite and which was his least favorite. Richman admitted that, spoiler alert,
if you don't want to find out, I suggest you get out of there.
He preferred some contests to others. His favorite was the Kodiak Arrest Contest at the Humpy's Alaskan Ale House. According to Humpy's website, the Kodiak Arrest Contest doesn't have bear meat in it, but rather has every other food that Alaska is known for. The challenge includes 7 crab nuggets, 14 inches of reindeer sausage, 3 pounds of Alaskan king crab, and different side dishes like coleslaw, Humpy's famous wild berry crisp, and ice cream.
It's cold and it sort of just drips down your throat. You don't even have to swallow, Morty. You can kind of just
The website lists the record holder as Jeffrey C., who completed that challenge in 12 minutes and 10 seconds, which is likely about the amount of time he remained living after completing that challenge. If you live in Alaska or are planning to visit, make sure to pack your credit card as this challenge runs a cool $179.99. And should you finish that meal in an hour or less, you'll end up in their Winners Hall of Fame, receive a I Got Crabs at Humpy's t-shirt, and if you happen to beat Jeffrey C., you'll get that meal for free. The cost of your angioplasty and stomach pumping falls on you, though. His least favorite challenge.
When so much of your mind is dedicated to surviving, that you're gonna get a kind of honesty out of people.
Richman's least favorite challenge may surprise you, not because he failed it. He failed more often than he won, but because it seemed like one of the easier challenges for Richman. This challenge actually ended up at the bottom of the barrel, and the bottom of a toilet not long after. Because the owner of the restaurant that hosted Man vs. Food had basically cheated by adding dangerously spicy hot sauce to the wings that he served to Adam, something that he neither explained to Richman or his team, nor added to the challenge regularly. Despite that, this challenge at least wins the award for the most apt name, as the owner of Munchie's 420 Cafe in Sarasota, Florida, named his challenge the Fire in Your Hole Wings Challenge. While that's pretty standard in terms of what they offer everyone, the problem stemmed from the fact that the owner made the wings especially spicy for Richman, essentially to steal a win for the television show. That's probably because the challenge paled in comparison to the others, as the challenge was to eat 10 spicy wings in 20 minutes without drinking anything, which in Richman's case was milk. Richman only made it through 2 wings before throwing in his poison-covered towel, and while he was used to losing, it was the way in which he lost that clearly stuck with Richman, not to mention the heartburn and ulcers. Typical types of challenges, the spicy edition. As fans of Man vs. Food know, most of the food challenges that host Adam Richman found himself in ended up falling in one of 2 categories, or sometimes both, either quantity-based challenges or heat-based challenges.
Why does it burn?
During an interview with The Guardian in the United Kingdom, Richman discussed his feelings on both, saying that heat-based challenges were no big deal, as long as the restaurant was using fresh peppers as opposed to the pepper extracts that some people use.
The merciless peppers of Quetzalcoatl.
Saying, a good spicy challenge strikes a balance between flavor and fear. As the braver of you probably know, fresh peppers aren't as spicy as hot sauces because there's still some flavor to those peppers, unless you get to the innards and seeds, which can be nightmares in and of themselves. Extracts and hot sauces sacrifice that flavor for the pure heat that comes from those peppers. And while some hot sauces do add additional ingredients to bring in that flavor, many can be so hot that you lose all ability to taste anything beyond pain. And that's one of the main situations in which Richman would find himself tapping out of challenges more often than not.
Like, it's bad. It's like I'm like a Hilton sister circa like 2006.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Typical types of challenges, the quantity edition.
I have to eat all 5 pounds of this heavyweight sandwich in under an hour to get on their wall of fame.
Beyond spicy challenges, you'll find what most people think of when they hear competitive eating is quantity-based challenges. Like the spicy challenges, Richman pointed out what factors make these challenges worse than they are generally. The biggest problem that one comes across when competing in a quantity-based challenge is food that contains starch and/or was deep fried. Things like French fries, hash browns, baked potatoes, or mashed potatoes tend to fill you up faster than other things like proteins especially. Those foods tend to feel like they're sitting in your stomach longer, which is why potatoes were such a staple of meals for people who didn't have a lot of money back before the days of the potato famine in Ireland, for example. There are multiple theories as to what led to that disaster that basically destroyed all potato crops in the Emerald Isle, but I think we now know who was behind it.
This is delicious.
A movie about a guy eating
That's right, Adam Richman.
Glenn, this is a court order. It says you can't eat anymore.
All right, Jerry, when you're right, you're right. Now I'm hooked.
The 7-pound breakfast burrito challenge.
Admit it. It looks good. It looks good. It's just so much of it, but it looks good.
While Richman stated that his least favorite challenge ever was the Fire in Your Hole challenge at Munchie's 420 Cafe in Sarasota, Florida, that was mainly because he felt that the owner of Munchie's had essentially cheated by altering the challenge to ensure that Richman would fail.
Shove it right in your mouth and make sure there's a napkin ready. That's all.
Which I guess would make his cafe look better on television. Perhaps he was out of shirts, or the larger point is that if we can no longer trust the owner of Munchie's 420 Cafe, then we're in trouble as a species. While that least favorite challenge involved some tomfoolery by the people making the food, we also wanted to include the actual challenge that Richman had the most problems with.
I am full.
Although this entry also involves some outside factors, the honor goes to the 7-pound breakfast burrito that Richman attempted to devour while he was extremely sick.
This burrito may actually be a mile high.
During the above-mentioned ESPN chat, Richman stated, "I was extremely sick with a 101 fever and a sinus infection. Add to that I hate chunks of ham and green pepper in food, and that dish had both. Truly a sucky experience."
It's definitely made me aware of being alive.
Considering all the sucky experiences it seemed like Richman had, and the eventual depression he developed during the filming of the show, for this to be singled out as the suckiest of sucky situations means it must have been really bad. Why the show ended.
How many at your hungriest can you eat?
2? 7.
7? Give me a hug. Come here. Come here for the real thing.
While it was mentioned that Richman gained a lot of weight during the filming of the show, and that was detrimental to both his physical and mental health,
I know you can do it, buddy.
Thank you.
You can do it for me, right?
You knew I would.
Richman also felt like the show had really just reached its logical conclusion, and that there was really nothing new that they could do or provide to its viewers. Richman explained, "The simplest way to put it is to say that the spectacle diminishes over time." And so Richman took the Seinfeld and Michael Jordan, after his first and second retirements, approach, and instead of continuing the show for a couple more seasons while the ratings dropped and his BMI increased, he pulled the plug.
Today in the battle of man versus food, food won.
While his health had something to do with that, Richman seemingly resented the rumors that he had canceled the show because of his health.
What? No soup for you.
At least solely. In a Facebook post, Richman stated, "Okay, once and for bleeping all. I am not dead, I am in good health thankfully, have suffered no health setbacks." All this because someone wrote a fake obituary for Richman and the rumor spread online that he was dead. Richman called out that blogger and the idiots that perpetuated the rumor, while also saying, "Sorry haters, I'm vigilant about my health. Take that negative bleep to Saint elsewhere, capiche?" That wasn't the last time that Richman lashed out at people online, as he also went on an epic rant, or 10, against people on Twitter after receiving some negative press for posting a hashtag that was tied to the pro-anorexia crowd that exists online, as a joke.
Now, Adam doesn't know that there's all this controversy behind the word thinspiration.
You didn't know that?
Not at all.
He wasn't a competitive eater.
No! You did not keep forward motion. That is a...
Adam Richman seemed like the perfect fit for Man vs. Food, as he was equal parts capable of eating vast amounts of food and also charming and great on television.
You lost forward motion. Mustard chug! Mustard chug it! Come on, get it down! Okay, no, all right.
That's not because he was just a competitive eater with a good personality, but rather that he was an aspiring actor that liked to eat food. After graduating from Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, with an undergraduate degree in international studies,
And that, my friend, is what 4 years of college will do to you.
and then eventually Yale's drama school, Richman began his acting career with a few guest roles on shows like All of My Children, Law & Order, Trial by Jury, and Guiding Light. His largest pre-Man vs. Food role was in 2004, as he portrayed a butcher on the show Joan of Arcadia. He also kept his acting chops sharp by appearing in regional theater productions around the United States, and he kept his wallet full by appearing in television commercials as well, some of which were seen nationally. He was the perfect fit for Man vs. Food, though, as he was essentially an expert of food before he landed the show.
Clean that kitchen sink, man!
He kept a travel journal that included every restaurant he ate at since 1995, while also self-educating himself on food and training to become a sushi chef. The best way to describe Richman is that he seemed to be on his way to being the most interesting man in the world. The one thing he wasn't, though, was a competitive eater, but he checked so many of the boxes that the Travel Channel wanted, they decided to cast him in what will most likely be the role of a lifetime for Richman. Thanks, Yale Drama School. Hungry for more? Why not check out our other videos and hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And don't forget to check out the description for details on how you could win an iPhone X.